A battleship turned broadside into its own formation to become what doctrine said it should never be. This happened on the afternoon of November 12, 1944, during convoy operations in Leyte Gulf. Task Group 77.4 was escorting 43 transports carrying aviation fuel and ammunition to newly secured airfields on Leyte. The tactical formation specified in CINCPAC Operation Order 14-44 called for screening vessels to maintain assigned sectors in a ring around the convoy center. The USS Massachusetts, a South Dakota-class battleship, held station on the convoy's northern flank. Her primary mission was anti-aircraft suppression within her designated fire zone. At 1400 hours, radar detected inbound aircraft bearing 035 degrees, range 40 miles, altitude 12,000 feet, 27 Betty bombers flying in 3 loose formations. This isn't fiction. This is what happens when the geometry of protection requires breaking the geometry of order. The choice came down to angles and time. If the bombers maintained course, they would approach the convoy from the northeast quadrant where 4 destroyers provided screening. Those destroyers carried 5-inch guns with an effective ceiling of 10,000 feet against maneuvering targets. The transports themselves had minimal anti-aircraft capability. 40mm mounts, some 20mm positions, crews trained for cargo handling more than aerial gunnery. The bombers would be over the convoy center in approximately 9 minutes. Massachusetts carried 12 5-inch dual-purpose guns and 60 40mm anti-aircraft guns. Her fire control system could track and engage multiple targets simultaneously. But she was 3,000 yards northwest of the convoy's center line, outside optimal firing position for the approaching raid. You are standing on the navigation bridge of Massachusetts. The date is November 12, 1944. Time is 1400 hours, 6 minutes. The light is white and hard. The air smells of salt and fuel oil and hot metal from ventilation ducts. Through the bridge windows, you can see the convoy spread across the water like a diagram from a tactical manual. Rows of gray hulls moving at 8 knots, maintaining interval. The wake patterns form white lines that stretch back toward the horizon. Behind you, inside the Combat Information Center, radar operators are calling ranges and bearings in steady voices. Plot updates every 30 seconds. The exec is standing beside the chart table with dividers in his hand. He has just drawn a line from the radar contact to the convoy center. The line passes through empty water where no ship is positioned. Captain Alden Cross stands at the port wing of the bridge, looking at that same empty water. He is 41 years old. He has commanded Massachusetts for 11 months. Before that, he taught naval tactics at the War College in Newport. He wrote a paper in 1942 about formation integrity during air attack. The paper concluded that dispersing screening vessels to intercept inbound raids degraded overall defensive coverage. It was published in the Naval Institute Proceedings. The doctrine that currently governs this task group's formation is based partly on that paper. Now he is looking at the space between his ship and the approaching bombers, calculating what doctrine did not account for. The transports have families aboard, some of them, not crew families. Wounded men being evacuated to rear hospitals. The medical transports are marked, but the bombers will not distinguish. They are carrying torpedoes. The angles are wrong. Cross turns to the officer of the deck. All engines ahead flank, come left to 045. The officer of the deck repeats the order. He does not ask why. His hand moves to the engine order telegraph. The brass handle swings forward. Bells ring below. In the forward engine room, throttleman opens steam valves according to procedures specified in Bureau of Ships Technical Manual No. 79. The valves are marked with red handwheels, 18 inches in diameter. When fully open, they allow superheated steam at 600 pounds per square inch to drive turbines that turn 4 screws, each screw 19 feet across. The ship begins to accelerate. The turn begins. From the convoy commodore's perspective, aboard the transport in the formation center, this movement makes no sense. Massachusetts is leaving her assigned station. The turn takes her across the convoy's northern face, blocking sight lines, disrupting fire lanes. She's moving at 27 knots now, building to 32. a battleship displacing 35,000 tons, accelerating like a destroyer. Her bow wave rises white against the gray hull. The exec on Massachusetts's bridge has not said anything yet. He is watching the captain. The captain is watching the water and the sky and the angles that are changing as the ship turns. At 1400 hours, 9 minutes, Massachusetts steadies on course 045. She is now positioned between the convoy and the inbound raid. Beam on to the bombers, her full length exposed, 480 feet of armored steel presenting the largest possible target. This violates every principle of anti-aircraft maneuvering. Ships turn bow on or stern on to attacking aircraft to minimize profile, reduce hit probability. Cross has done the opposite. He has made his ship enormous. The fire control officer is staring at him. Cross does not look back. He is listening to the radar reports. Range 20 miles, altitude 11,000 feet. The formations are splitting, 9 bombers breaking left, 9 right, 9 continuing center. The center group is adjusting course toward the new target, toward Massachusetts. The fire control solution develops in the plotting room. Director officers track the center group through optics. Range, bearing, altitude, speed, fed into the Mark III fire control computer. This is an electromechanical calculator weighing 3,000 pounds, filled with gears and cams and servo motors that translate motion into firing solutions. The computation accounts for target speed, gun elevation, projectile ballistics, atmospheric density, ship roll. The system was designed at the Naval Research Laboratory and installed in 1943. It can produce a firing solution in 12 seconds. At 1400 hours, 11 minutes, the solution locks. The main battery director calls ranges to all 5-inch mounts. Commence firing. The sound is not dramatic, it is mechanical and repetitive. A 5-inch gun firing at maximum rate produces 1 round every 4 seconds. 12 guns firing in sequence create a steady rhythm. The deck vibrates with each shot. Spent powder casings eject through ports on the gun mounts and fall into canvas bags. The bags are removed every 30 rounds by handling crews who wear asbestos gloves because the metal is hot enough to raise blisters through cloth. This procedure is detailed in Gunnery Bulletin 7-44, issued by the Bureau of Ordnance and preserved in the National Archives. The bulletin notes that sustained firing causes barrel temperature to exceed 400 degrees. Water cooling systems circulate seawater through jackets around each barrel. Steam rises from the gun mounts. The smell is cordite and hot oil. The bombers do not turn away. They continue toward Massachusetts. This is what Cross calculated. A battleship is a more valuable target than transports. It is also a more dangerous target. But the bombers are committed to their approach. They are at 9,000 feet now, beginning their attack runs. The lead aircraft drops first. The bomb falls in a shallow arc. It enters the water 800 yards off the port beam. The explosion sends a column of water 40 feet high. White spray drifts across the bow. The second bomb is closer, 400 yards. The shock wave travels through the water and impacts the hull. The ship shudders but does not slow. The 5-inch guns are still firing. One bomber takes hits in the port engine. It trails black smoke and breaks formation, turning west. The others continue. The exec finally speaks. "Captain, we're outside the formation." Cross nods. "Yes." "The transports have no cover on the southern quadrant. They have 8 minutes before the secondary groups arrive. We'll be back in position." The exec looks at the plot. The math is tight but possible. If Massachusetts completes this intercept and reverses course immediately, she can resume station before the remaining bombers approach from the flanks. If she takes no damage, if the engines perform without fault, if the course calculations are exact, there is no margin. Cross knows this. The exec knows he knows. Another bomber drops. This one is closer. 300 yards. The explosion is louder. Fragments hit the starboard side. Pinging sounds, metal on metal, no penetration. The armor belt is 12 inches thick, sloped at 19 degrees, designed to defeat 14-inch shells at 20,000 yards. Bomb fragments do nothing, but the fragments were not aimed at the belt. Some hit the 40mm gun mounts. One gunner takes a splinter in the shoulder. He steps back from his position. The gun captain takes his place without speaking. This is automatic. Drill. No one has time to consider whether the wound is serious. The gun continues firing. The geometry is working. 9 bombers committed to attacking Massachusetts, 9 bombs expended. No hits on the convoy. The convoy commodore is signaling. Flags from the yardarm. Cross does not need to read them to know what they say. Resume station. Massachusetts is disrupting defensive coordination. From the Commodore's position, this maneuver looks like panic or insubordination. From Cross's position, it looks like the only solution to an equation that doctrine did not include. Procedure assumes threats approach according to plan. This raid did not approach according to plan. The bombers came from a vector where screening was thin. The response required someone to step into the gap. Massachusetts was the only ship with the speed and firepower to fill it, but filling it meant leaving formation. The rule and the necessity were incompatible. At 1400 hours, 18 minutes, the last bomber of the center group turns away. No hits on Massachusetts, 2 bombers damaged, 1 losing altitude rapidly. It will not make it back to base. Cross does not watch it. He's already giving orders for the turnback. Right full rudder, all engines ahead flank. The ship heels into the turn. The deck angles 15 degrees. Coffee cups slide across the chart table. No one reaches for them. The exec is calculating course and speed to regain station. His pencil moves across the plotting sheet. Straight lines, distances, time. He looks up. 6 minutes to station, sir. Cross checks the radar repeater. The 2 flanking groups are at 22 miles. Closing, on schedule. Massachusetts will be back in position with 1 minute to spare. The convoy will have full coverage when those bombers arrive. The transports will not know how close the math was. They will only know that their escort held formation and no bombs fell on them. That is the way it should be. Protective geometry is supposed to be invisible. But there is a cost to invisibility. When Massachusetts resumes station, she will have expended 60% of her 5-inch ready ammunition. Her 40mm mounts are low. Her crew has been at battle stations for 19 minutes. Fatigue is not yet critical, but it is accumulating. Reaction times slow, mistakes become possible, and the flanking groups are still inbound. The defensive cycle is not complete. Cross knows he has used resources that were meant to be distributed across multiple engagements. He has front-loaded the defense. If the remaining bombers press hard, if they coordinate better, if they exploit the gaps that ammunition expenditure creates, the formation could still fail. He made the calculation anyway. The equation balanced on time and angles, not on doctrine. Now he has to trust that the trust was justified. The radar operators call the flanking groups. Range 15 miles, altitude 10,000 feet. The groups are separating further, widening the approach angle. This is good tactics from the bomber perspective. It forces the escorts to split their fire. Destroyers move to intercept positions. Their 5-inch guns begin firing at maximum range. The sound carries across the water. Dull thumps, slightly out of sync. Massachusetts is back in formation now. The convoy commodore has stopped signaling. Cross does not know if that means approval or simply acknowledgement. It does not matter. The action is complete. The decision has been made and executed. The results will come regardless of approval. The flanking groups are at 8 miles. The destroyers are engaging effectively. 2 bombers break off. 1 is trailing smoke. The remaining 16 continue. They are spreading into individual attack runs now. Harder to track, harder to predict. The convoy's collective anti-aircraft fire increases. Every ship is shooting. The sky fills with black puffs of exploding shells. Tracers arc upward in slow curves that look gentle from a distance, but are lethal at close range. 1 bomber takes hits and explodes. Bright orange flash, debris falling. The other bombers do not alter course. They are professional. They are committed. Massachusetts engages the nearest target. The 5-inch guns track smoothly. The Mark III computer is still producing solutions. The ammunition handlers below decks are moving shells from the magazines to the hoists, to the guns in a continuous cycle. Each shell weighs 54 pounds. The handlers lift them in pairs, set them in the trays, push them forward. The motion is rhythmic. 1 shell every 4 seconds per gun. 12 guns, 180 shells per minute. The men do not think about the weight, they think about the rhythm. Keep the rhythm and the guns keep firing. 1 bomber breaks through. It is low now, 3,000 feet coming in from the east. It is targeting a transport near the convoy's edge, a medical ship. Red Cross is painted on white fields on the hull and superstructure. The markings are clear, but the bomber does not turn. It is possible the pilot cannot see them. It is possible he sees them and has orders to ignore them. International law is a theory. This is practice. The transport has one 3-inch gun on the stern. It is firing. The shells are falling short. The bomber is going to reach release point. Massachusetts starboard 40mm mounts engage. The guns are firing 500 rounds per minute. The tracers converge on the bomber. Hits visible on the fuselage. The pilot does not alter course. He drops. The bomb falls. The transport begins a turn. Too late. The bomb enters the water 30 feet from the hull. The explosion lifts the stern. The propeller comes out of the water. The ship settles back. Heavy. There's black smoke from the engine room vents. The transport is slowing, not sinking, but damaged. Cross watches. There's nothing he can do. Massachusetts is 3,000 yards away. By the time she closes the distance, the damage will have resolved one way or another. He can see crew on the transport's deck. They are moving toward the lifeboats. Procedure, drilled, calm. The remaining bombers expend their loads. One more hit on a cargo ship. The ship is carrying aviation fuel. There is fire, bright orange, spreading. Destroyers are moving toward the burning ship. They will come alongside, put hoses on the flames, take off survivors if necessary. This is what escorts do. But they are far from Massachusetts now. The formation has pulled apart under the pressure of the attack. Ships are scattered across 5 miles of ocean. The geometry that was supposed to provide mutual protection has fragmented. This is what happens when theory meets reality. The plan breaks. What remains is individual response and individual cost. At 1400 hours, 32 minutes, the attack ends. The surviving bombers turn west. Radar tracks them until they are out of range. The guns fall silent. The sudden absence of sound is disorienting. Crew members blink, shake their heads, ears ringing. The smell of cordite hangs in the air. The deck is covered with spent casings. The canvas bags are full. Handling crews begin the process of clearing the mounts. This will take 30 minutes. The guns will be cleaned and reloaded, ready ammunition replenished from below. By 1500 hours, Massachusetts will be ready to engage again. But for now, the ship is quiet. Cross walks to the starboard side of the bridge. He can see the damaged transport. It is listing slightly but still under power. The fire on the cargo ship is under control. Black smoke but no flames visible. The convoy is reforming. Ships returning to station. The Commodore is signaling. Formation instructions. Course and speed. The normal language of fleet operations. As if the last 30 minutes did not happen. As if the gaps in choices and risks were routine. Perhaps they were. Perhaps this is what routine looks like under pressure. The plan modified in real time by necessity. The doctrine bent to fit the circumstances. Cross has been in command long enough to know that perfection is rare. What matters is whether the essential thing was preserved. The exec approaches. Damage report, sir. 1 wounded, minor shrapnel injury. No structural damage. Ammunition expenditure within operational limits. We can resume full defensive posture at 1500 hours. Cross nods. Very good. He does not mention the transport. He does not mention the cargo ship. Those are not his responsibility. His responsibility was to provide air defense for the convoy. He did that. The method was unconventional, but the result was acceptable. 2 ships damaged, 41 ships safe. By the calculus of war, this is success. But calculus does not account for the men on those 2 ships, the wounded, the dead, if there are dead, the families who will receive telegrams. The weight of those telegrams is not distributed evenly. Some ships carry it all, others carry nothing. He wonders if the Commodore will file a report about the maneuver, if headquarters will ask questions, if there will be an inquiry into why Massachusetts broke formation. He wonders if he will need to explain the geometry, the angles and time and ammunition and risk, the equation that balanced between doctrine and necessity. He knows he cannot explain it in a way that will satisfy everyone. Some will say he was right, some will say he was reckless. Both will be true. That is the nature of decisions made under pressure. They are never purely right or purely wrong. They are simply made. And then time reveals whether they were sufficient. The convoy continues west, speed 8 knots, formation restored. The sun moves lower in the sky. The light softens. The water turns from white to gold to gray. The burned ship leaves a black smudge on the horizon. Eventually, it disappears. The routine resumes. Watch changes, meals served, engine room logs updated. The war continues. Massachusetts holds station. Her crew performs their duties. The ship moves through the water the way ships do, cutting a straight line, leaving a wake that dissolves behind her. In the plotting room, the radar operators watch their screens. Green traces rotating, contacts marked, ranges called, nothing inbound. The sky is clear. The evening watch begins. Men who were at battle stations are relieved. They go below. Some eat, some sleep, some sit in silence, staring at bulkheads, processing what happened, what might have happened, the distance between the two. In the sickbay, the corpsman is treating the wounded gunner. The splinter is removed. The wound is cleaned and dressed. The gunner will return to duty tomorrow. He is lucky. He knows he is lucky. He does not say it. There is no need. Everyone knows. Cross remains on the bridge. He does not need to be there. The watch officer is capable. The ship is secure. But he stays, looking at the convoy, counting hulls, 43 transports, 2 damaged, 41 intact. The numbers are correct. The mission is accomplished. But numbers do not tell the whole story. They do not tell what it cost to keep those 41 hulls moving. They do not tell what was risked, what was broken, and what was preserved. The equation is complete, but the variables remain. They always remain. Night comes slowly. The sky darkens by degrees. Stars appear. The convoy becomes a collection of lights, red and green and white, moving in formation. The lights maintain interval. From a distance, they look orderly. Beautiful even, a constellation moving across the water. No one watching from shore would know what happened today. They would see only the lights and the order. They would assume safety. That is what convoy operations are supposed to provide, the appearance of order, the reality of protection, even when the protection requires breaking the rules that create the order. The water is calm, small waves, regular intervals. The ship rises and falls with the rhythm. The deck vibrates with engine noise, steady, constant. Below decks, the machinery runs, turbines, pumps, generators, all performing according to design. The ship is a system, every part connected, every part necessary. When one part fails, others compensate. When one rule cannot hold, another must take its place. This is not weakness, this is resilience. The ability to adapt without breaking completely, to bend without shattering. Cross thinks about the paper he wrote, Formation Integrity During Air Attack. The conclusions seemed clear at the time. Maintain position. Maximize overlapping fields of fire. Do not disperse. The math supported the conclusions. The simulations confirmed them. But the paper did not account for this, the asymmetric approach, the gap in coverage, the need to choose between doctrine and outcome. Perhaps no paper could account for that. Perhaps some decisions cannot be pre-calculated. They must be made in the moment with incomplete information by people who carry the weight of what happens next. He wonders what he will write in his own report, how he will describe the turn, the decision to break formation, whether he will mention the math or simply state the result. He knows that whatever he writes will be read by people who were not there, who did not see the angles or hear the radar reports or feel the deck shudder under the guns. They will judge based on regulations and doctrine and the outcomes they consider acceptable. They may agree with his choice. They may not. He cannot control that. He can only control what he writes, and what he writes must be true. The truth is this: he broke formation to shield 43 ships from 27 bombers. 2 ships were damaged. 1 man was wounded. The convoy reached its destination. The mission succeeded. Whether the method was correct is a different question. Perhaps there is no answer to that question. Perhaps the only thing that matters is the line of lights moving across the dark water, maintaining interval, reaching port. Perhaps that is enough. The stars are bright now, the Milky Way visible as a pale band across the sky. Cross has always found navigation by stars to be reassuring, the certainty of celestial mechanics, the predictability. A ship's position can be calculated with precision if the instruments are good and the observations are careful. Latitude and longitude determined by Angles and time, there is comfort in that. But celestial navigation only tells you where you are. It does not tell you if where you are is where you should be. That judgment requires something else, something unmeasurable. The exec returns. Captain, the Commodore is signaling. Convoy will maintain current course and speed through the night. No further air activity detected. Permission to secure from general quarters. Granted. The word is passed. Throughout the ship, men stand down from battle stations. Gun mounts are secured, ammunition locked. The life of the ship shifts from combat to routine, watches set, maintenance scheduled, the endless cycle of repair and preparation. This is what naval service is. Long periods of routine punctuated by brief moments of action. The routine is what makes the action possible. The discipline, the drill, the repetition. So that when the moment comes, the response is automatic. No thought required, just execution. But someone still has to decide when to execute. Someone still has to look at the situation and make the choice that the routine cannot make. That is command. That is the weight. Cross goes below. His cabin is small. Bunk, desk, chair, wash basin, Spartan, functional. The same as every other officer's cabin, only slightly larger. He sits at the desk, opens the log, picks up a pen. The page is blank. He stares at it. The words do not come easily. How to describe what happened, how to frame the decision in language that will be understood by people who were not there. He writes slowly. Date, time, position, the convoy, the raid, the course change, the results, dry language, official. But true. He does not mention the paper he wrote. He does not mention the calculations. He writes only what happened and what came from it. Let others draw conclusions. His job was to act. He acted. The rest is interpretation. He sets down the pen, closes the log, lies on the bunk. The ship rocks gently. The machinery hums, familiar sounds, comforting. He thinks about the wounded gunner, about the men on the damaged transport, about the bombers that did not return to their base, about the pilots who flew them, all people, all following orders, all part of systems larger than themselves, systems that sometimes conflict, sometimes break. And when they break, someone has to decide what to do. There is no manual for that, no procedure, only judgment, only the choice to act or not act, and the consequences either way. Sleep comes slowly. When it comes, it is shallow, filled with images. The convoy lights, the bomb splashes, the sound of guns, the smell of cordite, these things do not leave. They accumulate, layer upon layer. Every action, every decision, every outcome, they become part of the fabric, part of the weight. There is no way to shed them. They remain. And perhaps that is appropriate. Perhaps that is the cost of command, to carry the weight, to remember, to know that every choice has a consequence, that success and failure are often separated by margins too small to measure. That sometimes the only difference between disaster and survival is one person willing to break formation at the right moment. The night passes. The convoy moves west. The water reflects starlight. The air's cool, the wind steady. On the bridge, the watch keeps time, bells every half hour, marker for continuity. The ship endures, the mission continues. Somewhere ahead, a port waits. Docks and cranes and men who will unload the cargo and repair the damage and send the ships back out. The cycle repeats. This is how wars are sustained, not by battles, by logistics, by the unglamorous work of moving supplies and protecting the ships that carry them, by captains who make choices that will never be celebrated because they were never supposed to be necessary, by guns that fire and men who serve them, and ships that hold station even when holding station means accepting risk. This is the architecture of protection. Silent, persistent, measured not in heroism but in ships that reach their destination. Dawn comes, light spreads across the water. The convoy becomes visible again. 43 hulls, still moving, still in formation. Massachusetts holds her station. Her guns are clean. Her magazines restocked. Her crew ready. The ship is whole. She has done what she was designed to do, delivered fire at the right place at the right time, absorbed risk so others would not have to, made the equations balance, and now she returns to routine, to the steady rhythm of ocean transit, to the watch cycle and the maintenance schedule and the slow accumulation of miles. The mission complete, the cost paid, the outcome preserved in the simple fact of motion, ships moving west toward the next harbor, the next mission, the next equation, the next moment when someone will have to look at the angles and the time and the rules and decide what breaking point will hold.